Hello, everyone. Today I am going to rank the bosses based on my experience in Hollow Knight Silksong. So, normally I would say, oh, these are my own opinions. We all have our own, different experiences and don't fight in the comments. But you know what? Fighting boosts me in the algorithm, so fight away. Anyways, all right. So let's start off. Moss Mother. I feel like Moss Mother is... I feel like I have to put Moss Mother in average. I didn't love the Moss Mother fight, to be honest, but the Moss Mother taught some important mechanics early on. Basically, one of the recurring problems in this game that you have to face is the issue of, bosses spawning ads and the like. So, this teaches you that. I didn't love the moveset in that it was... it would, fly across the screen without much, telegraph, but it kind of only had one or two moves, really. So it was very simple. But I think it teaches you what you need to know. So maybe I'll put it at top of meh. I don't know. Moss Mother 2, I think that we should put Moss Mother 2 just below Moss Mother 1. It was, I don't know. I guess, Moss Mother 1 has more of the role of the tutorial. Moss Mother 2 is like, let's just throw a bunch of stuff at you. But I don't know. It didn't mix up enough. I feel like I just got to kind of lump them together. Okay. Bell Beast. I feel like Bell Beast is a mega underrated boss, if I'm being totally honest. I think it's underrated because it's easy, because it's an early game boss. And so I think people overlook it because the memorable ones are the ones that you die on a lot of times, and then you memorize the skill set. And absolutely, I think Bell Beast is as good of an introductory fight as you could have. I like that it really kind of controls the arena, but it gives good telegraphs. I think this is a very, very good fight. Okay. Lace 1. This is an interesting one because I'm going to put it in good. I feel like Lace 1 is a very, very good fight for where you fight it in the game. But the reality is this game has a lot of duels. And I think in retrospect, when you look back on the duels, Lace 1 doesn't stand out. Lace 1 is the beginning of building one of the best sets of bosses probably in the genre. But in retrospect, looking back on the game, it doesn't stand out. Okay. So we know which boss is going to emotionally be on the bottom of my list, but I think we need to be real. Kragler is not really much of a boss at all. Some people don't even consider it a boss. It has one move. This boss, the only thing standing in the way of a guaranteed victory is impatience. Because when you can encounter this boss, it just has a lot of HP. It has a very small damage window. And so you just basically, if you don't get greedy, you win. If you get greedy, you might die because you take a couple damage. You don't have much HP. Very, very boring fight. And one of the only bosses in the game, one of the only things in the game that I'm like, this is not good design. This is the one that really stands out to me as there's kind of nothing in this fight that's really worth it. Okay, fourth chorus. This is an interesting one. I think one of the things about opinions on bosses in the game is I think if you first try a boss, they generally don't stick out in your memory as much, right? And so part of the problem with fourth chorus is that we beat it first try. So it's not going to stick in our memory as much as some of these other ones because we kind of, passed through it. That being said, it had really good foreshadowing. It was like the Chekhov's gun boss. You know what I mean? Like we see the lifeless automaton as we pass through, and as we come back, we're like, oh no. It had really good arena control. It was one of the bosses that it was really well telegraphed. It felt like a dance. So part of me, based on my experience, because it's less memorable for me, I would normally put it as good. But I think I need to try to be a bit more objective on this one. I think that this is a great boss. A small part of me wishes I struggled on this boss more when I encountered it. Okay, this is not really a boss, but it feels like a boss when you encounter it. I don't know where to place it. Either average or good. Here's the thing. When you first encounter it, you encounter it without dash, and I think you'd get wrecked. And thankfully, I had dash before I got it. Even with dash, I kind of struggled probably more than I should have. I enjoyed it. Okay, I might have to adjust some stuff because eventually I'll have to put some things into average. For now, I'll put it in good, but we might slide this around. You know what? Let's get some representation in average. We'll put it in average. Okay, Moorwing. This is another boss that I don't have strong opinions on, unfortunately. I beat it first try. I also played it, I think, I could be wrong, but I think I played it right after the nerf. So, whereas Sister Splinter, I played before the nerf, I'm pretty sure when I fought this one, the nerf already went into effect. So, Moorwing is one that when I've seen discourse online, I've seen a lot of people complain about and say it was kind of brutal. And I just didn't have that experience. For me, it felt kind of average. But granted, you know, I also, sometimes luck comes into play. And also sometimes I'll first try a boss, you know, and the next boss I do will actually play into this discussion more. Sometimes people will first try a boss, you know, luck will play in their favor a bit, and then they'll be like, I don't understand, why did people think this was hard? It was easy. But sometimes there's some luck involved. I know with Moorwing, I had some luck. Moorwing kind of got stuck in the doorway to the, like, east of Greyhome or whatever, it's Greymoor. So I got to put in some big damage on it where it was kind of trapped. It had, oh God, it had really good arena control. It was intimidating in that it had, you kind of had to really watch your placement. So it's somewhere in here. It's definitely better than this guy. But I'll put it in average for now. Okay, Savage Beastfly is an interesting one. And we all know how I feel about well, we probably don't because we probably have new viewers here. But some of you probably know how I feel about Savage Beastfly 2. Savage Beastfly 1, though, I think we need to give credit. Savage Beastfly 1 is a boss that kind of speaks into what I was saying about the difficulty on this one. We almost first tried it, and I was like, oh, this boss is easy. This boss is so easy. And then I entered a rut and died on it a few times. And so I think that sometimes goes to show you that your first experience of things play out well doesn't always give you a full picture on how the boss actually is. The thing with Savage Beastfly is, so its moveset is so simple, and the boss fight is really adds, right? Savage Beastfly can range from either a really easy or a really hard fight, depending on what ads it spawns. It has two ads that are basically, they're defensive kind of in a way, right? They create walls that you can't pass until you get rid of them. So they kind of corner you, and then you will have the one ad that is high mobility paired with the Savage Beastfly, which is high mobility. So two kind of pen you into a corner, and then these two kind of go in and dive bomb. I think it is ultimately well designed. I'm not sure. I think a lot of really ad-focused ones can tend to be a bit more frustrating, but I'm going to put it there. I also think that, you know, there's certain skills that I didn't really use much in my playthrough, and some of them were silk skills. I don't remember. I know there's that one skill that you get, which is like what is it? It's a silk skill where you kind of create a circle of silk around you and you whip it all around. And I bet you that if you use that skill, you can probably walk through this fight like nothing. Okay. Let's go with the Skull Tyrant. The Skull Tyrant 1 and 2. This is interesting. So Skull Tyrant 1, they're both pretty similar. I will say that Skull Tyrant 1 is kind of, you're going to be your first hunt. It has a pretty fun, relatively easy skill set, but I think it teaches you certain mechanics, like mechanics that the Bell Beast has probably already taught you at this point. But basically having to like pogo or dash over enemies and things like that. I'm going to put it. I'll put it here. And I have it at meh. We'll put it at meh. Meh doesn't mean bad. Come on, go where I want you to. Go where I... There we go. Meh doesn't mean bad. Meh means it's ultimately when you're remembering the bosses of the game without looking at a tier list, you're probably not going to remember it. Okay. Skull Tyrant 2, I think we have to push up. Not because it's... I remember it had some extra moves. I actually don't really remember the moves that well of this, what differentiates it. But I think we have to bump it up just because it's narratively cooler. It's one of those moments where... I know some games do this. I don't even know if I should mention the games that do this because it will be spoilers. But a lot of games will lull you into a sense of like security in certain areas. Like there's some games, you know, like games like Dragon Age or Mass Effect or whatever, where it's like, oh, we're at home base. We're at our camp. There's no enemies here. There's no combat, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, maybe like some games will do something where they subvert it and you get attacked in a place that you feel safe. And there's consequences. Skull Tyrant 2 kind of does that moment where it just kind of drops on you in a place where it feels like your safe space. So even though they're kind of largely very similar fights, just narratively, I have to bump it up. Okay, Sister Splinter. I like Sister Splinter a lot. Sister Splinter is interesting because I like bosses that are just really unique in approaching in how their approach is different, right? So, for instance, as much as I love the Lace fights, the Phantom fight, the Second Sentinel, they're all kind of plays on the same formula, right? Sister Splinter is a formula that is kind of a one-off in the game, except for maybe Crust King Kong, kind of. Sister Splinter is one where it's like a claustrophobia fight, right? She pens you in and then makes stuff bad for you. Like Savage Beast Fight does it to some extent, but not in such a like imprisoning way as Sister Splinter. Her moveset's pretty easy, but she just kind of suffocates you. I just thought she was really cool. I'm curious about what the details of her nerfs were, because she felt like a good challenge for me at that point in the game. When I fought her unnerfed, she didn't feel like... I guess some of the ads... it's been a while since I've done it. The ads were kind of annoying, but it didn't feel like... I don't know. It didn't feel like a huge difficulty spike to me compared to some other things. All right. So we have the Conch Flies or Conch Flies, depending on where you're from. I'm going to put them as good. I enjoyed them. They kind of reminded me of the Clover Dancers Light. Or not Clover Dancers or Cogwork Dancers. I enjoyed it. I don't have a lot to say about them. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy, in my experience. You know, granted, we have to remember our skill sets. Like the items that we use, the builds that we use can make different things easier or harder. For the first half of the game, I was kind of going Polyp Pouch. And, you know, eventually I got like Cog Flies with Polyp Pouch, or I was using Sting Shards a lot with Polyp Pouch. And that was kind of my build, and I was going Reaper for generally the first half of the game. So with Reaper, you have the easy pogo. It made for a pretty nice, I don't know. And with Bell Beast, you have some interesting damage windows. I don't know. I enjoyed the fight. I don't have a lot to say. Okay. Widow. Pantheon. I loved Widow. Widow was the first boss in the game. I mean, Bell Beast was up there, although Bell Beast was simple. But Widow was the first boss in the game where I had a challenge that I had to overcome, but was also like, I love the skill set. I love when you have all the like bells or whatever kind of go up from the bottom of the course and you have to glide over them or pogo off of them. It had some elements of the kind of like dual fight, but also not. I don't know. There was something about this skill set that was just an absolute joy to overcome. I love that fight. Okay. Next, we have Last Judge. Last Judge, it's hard for me to place where this one should be. Last Judge is definitely the boss in the game that I spent the most time trying to beat. This is and probably took me almost twice as long as the second place. This boss took me almost 2 hours. Okay, here's what I'll say. I'm going to do this in 2 steps. Step 1, Pantheon. Last Judge took me almost 2 hours. Okay. So a lot of people have complained about the run back. The run back isn't so bad in retrospect. It's really not. But the run back does add to the frustration in the sense that when you mess up, when you're like, oh my God, I got so far, you mess up and it's like, oh God, now I have to spend 2 minutes sitting with my failure. Like, it does feed into its own frustration a bit of the fight, but it doesn't really add much to the difficulty. The thing about the fight itself is I did quit midway through the fight just to take a break. I think that was just maybe because it was late at night, though. I think it was late at night before a work day. I don't think I, like, raged out. But the thing about the boss was I never really got super upset with the boss. I had some frustrations about sitting with a failure during the run back, but this boss ultimately felt really fair. And so the bosses that really really irritate you are ones where after the fight you kind of feel like it was BS, like you were robbed or something. And I didn't feel that. Now, the one thing I have to say is that the boss explodes at the end and robbed me of my win. So we're bumping it down a whole tier because of that, okay? Listen, I think you're a great fight, but that one trap, that was the Omega trap in this game that screwed me more than anything. So you get knocked down a whole tier just because of that. Okay. Cogwork Dancers. This is S tier. It's also like, it's also so S tier that I almost want to put it there, but I can't. Cogwork Dancers are probably narratively the best fight in the game. They're so elegant. It's an easy fight, but it's so telegraphed. It's so narratively strong. It's funny, when I got to the final phase, I was like, oh my god, it's going to power up, and I just spammed all my sting shards and destroyed it. I've come to find out later that it's like once you've defeated one half of the couple, it's actually just out of energy. It's kind of no longer a threat, and it's really a narrative final phase. This fight from narrative alone gets boosted up really, really high, but it's also fundamentally just a really fun fight. The only reason I place Widow higher is because Widow also has the feeling of like, oh man, I really have to learn this skill set. I really have to, like, this thing that I need to overcome, and you learn it, and then you feel good about beating it. Cogwork Dancers, I beat Cogwork Dancers on my second try. I probably should have beat it on the first try. It's something that I could easily see people going into and first trying regularly. But I really, really like the boss a lot. Okay. So now we get to Trobio. Trobio is probably where I'm going to have my first controversial take. Trobio is a weird one. And I'm going to place it at the bottom of good. Now, Trobio I know is a fight that a lot of people are going to put up at the Pantheon. It's going to be a lot of people's favorites. And you know what? I'm going to put Tormented Trobio there too. I'm going to bump them together. The reality with Trobio, in my opinion, is Trobio is narratively S tier. Trobio is hilarious. My one regret in my playthrough is that I didn't needle in Trobio's corpse after the fight. I didn't think about it. And I've tried to look up videos online to see what happens when you needle in Trobio's corpse. And I haven't found any videos. I mean, I didn't do that long of a search. But that's one thing I really want to see, what he says when you needle in him, like, fake passed out. I loved the style. I loved the, like, you know, like, super, like, flamboyant, over dramatic, silly, like, cool skill set. Oh God, should I place it? Oh God, I gotta place it higher. I found it a little annoying to fight. I found it was very... Maybe some of it was that I just didn't learn some of its telegraphs, but a lot of it felt quite untelegraphed to me. At least that was my experience. It felt like you'd be kind of in the midst of an attack without expecting it, compared to other bosses. Oh God. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Now, Tormented Trobio is one of those fights that by the time I got to this point in the game, I'd switched my build. So the second half of the game, I switched to the Plasmium Overdose. And so we kind of went quite trap heavy. By this point in the game, I was going full trap or full tool. And this was a fight where I feel like I didn't overcome it with my skill at all. I feel like I just kind of very, very barely outlasted the war of attrition, and my tools did the damage. So I didn't have a particularly I don't feel any pride for my win on this one. Okay, next we have Unraveled. Okay, I think that this is going to be a controversial opinion online. I was not a fan of Unraveled. So Wait, where's Savage Beastfly 2? Oh, there it is. Okay, you know what? Because of our play order, let's do Savage Beastfly 2. Savage Beastfly 2, I'm going to put it in Abyss. Now, emotionally, I put it here, but let's be real. Kragler is not a boss. Kragler is nothing. Kragler is a move that you can literally stand in one spot and AFK for, 7 days and you'll be fine. At least Savage Beastfly 2 is a boss. Now, my experience with this was the boss that actually made me rage out the most by far. It took me probably about 40 minutes to beat. This was the only boss that I paused partway through. I paused this because of work. This is a boss where I rage quit. I paused partway through and looked up how people were beating it. I just looked up what people were saying about it. And I changed my strategy based on what the internet was saying. And then we got through it relatively quickly. If I didn't do that, if I just did it naturally, hello, Scoots. If I just did this naturally, this fight would have probably taken me a lot longer. This fight I'm just going to put in the bottom tier because it was the one fight where a lot of the time it felt like a lot of the problems I were facing were issues with randomness and issues with imbalance. The biggest issue is it would often go off screen, so past the edge of the arena, so you couldn't see it. And it wouldn't always, the boss feels like it's constructed to kind of go in a square, oh, you jump over it, you're under it, and then the ads kind of pin you down. With this boss, it would sometimes be unpredictable in if it would go up or down, and it would come off screen, so you couldn't see which way you had to dodge. And so it would feel like you're getting hit for free. And then the ads are so much more annoying. They home on you. This thing is destroying the ground. The ads can then create fireballs on the remaining pieces of the ground, and if they hit it, it bonks you in the lava. With the combination of the lava and it hitting you and the projectiles, at this point in the game, you effectively have 3 HP, right? You have 6 HP when I fought it. And it could take off 4 HP in a single hit if it bonks you and then you go in the lava or whatever. It was absolutely frustrating. And, then you see the strategies online and you're like, okay, so there's certain tools like that thread one, that lash, the silk lash or whatever it's called, that can really take out the ads and resolve that problem. I think the ads are just too spongy in this fight. I think they should have half the HP for how dangerous they are. But this was also a fight that changed how I played the game. Because this was the fight that when I raged out, I was like, you know what? I'm not enjoying this game right now. This was the dark part of my playthrough where I was like, I am not having fun. And it was the moment where I realized that I had to kind of suck up my pride. Because a big thing with this game is, with gaming in general, is sometimes it feels like, I hit this wall. Plus the added pressure of when you're streaming, there's a thing where you're like, oh man, I don't want to be a quitter. I can do this. I want to show that I don't suck. You have these stupid thoughts that no one cares about, but you do. And then you just keep running into the wall, and it's like, dude, if I just came back to this later, I probably would have had to get some nail upgrades, get some extra health. It probably would have not have been that bad of a fight. But based on my experience, this was the least fun I had in the game by far. Period. By far. So I have to put it there emotionally based on my experience. Okay. Now let's do Unraveled, because for my experience of the playthrough, I fought Unraveled after Savage Beastfly, and Savage Beastfly was one of the major pivot moments for how I approached the game. Unraveled was a boss where it exemplified that change. So Unraveled was a boss that I personally don't... I like it conceptually. I don't mind the ads. A lot of people, I think, have problems with the ads. I thought the ads were cool. They weren't that much of a threat. You kind of learn how to deal with them. The boss itself, I just thought it had very, very little pain windows for you to hurt it. Because the biggest pain windows, it was also kind of launching very hard to attacks. Yeah. I just went with the all one. Kragler stinks. Okay. So the issue is, I felt in my experience that this boss, it was, because it had such low pain windows, it also meant there was very little silk farming windows, and the ads are actually a relief because it gives you the moment where you can get your silk. And so for me, this boss kind of said, listen, if you want to beat this boss, spam tools, and that's how you win. I'm sure that there's probably lots of playthroughs where they do it other ways and they have more of a dance with the boss. I see that people online generally like this. But in my experience through the playthrough, this felt like a boss where it was saying, spam your tools for it to pop up. That's how you dish your damage, and that's kind of the way through. So I didn't love it. Okay. Are we ready? Are we ready for my most inflammatory opinion? Okay, keep in mind, Plasmium Overdose build at this point in the game, right? If I encountered this boss earlier in the game, I would have had a very different opinion. I guarantee it would be down here, right? But Plasmium Overdose effectively undoes Muck Maggot. And so with that, all of a sudden, the boss is really fun. And Bile Water as a zone was quite fun. So if you are hating Bile Water, I'm telling you, go Plasmium Overdose. It's fun. And for me, it was a relatively simple skill set, but it was a different skill set. I don't know where to put it. I feel bad putting it above Fourth Chorus, so I feel like I have to put it here. But honestly, it's more memorable for me than Fourth Chorus. Okay, this is my list. Ah, God, Fourth Chorus is better. But I enjoyed Grohl. It had some of the ads were annoying, particularly the spear thrower. But once you kind of knew what to expect, you could take care of them in advance. I was Architect Crest, so I could one-shot them with my charge attack. So I really enjoyed it. I know. Listen, those are my two most probably offensive opinions. I'm not saying it's objectively better. I'm saying I had more fun. I had more fun. Okay. First Sinner. It's got to be Pantheon. The question is where in the Pantheon? First Sinner. Here's the one thing with First Sinner is I think I beat First Sinner first try. Which, things that you beat first try, it's not rage bait. I'm being genuine. If it took me longer to beat First Sinner, I think I would have gotten used to the dance more, but I really, really, really enjoyed the use of Clawline in that fight. How it would create these like windows that you could attack through, and that the aggression was like really, really high. I don't know. Something about this boss I feel like is a very, very special boss. I really, really like it. And by the way, you came after I talked about Trobio, okay? So, you know, maybe before you jump to the rage bait, maybe you should hear what I have to say about it, okay? I'm not on trial for this, okay? Narratively, Trobio is S tier. I've already said that, okay? And aesthetically, it's S tier, okay? I just found it a little annoying. Okay. Lace 2 is S tier. Lace 2 is where Lace 1 really pays off. I think it's kind of the pinnacle of the duels. Amazing, amazing fights. One of the things I like about it, it's one of the fights where you feel like nowhere's safe, but then you realize that like you can kind of wall climb and then double jump and like claw line way over the arena, and that's your safe spot. And so it creates these interesting windows where it's like, okay, I'm going to climb way up, and that's where I'm going to heal, and that's where I'm going to. So you have these like safe locations to like. And because Silksong allows you to kind of like bind in the air or plasmium in the air or all that stuff, it's nice that it has like a creative kind of safe spot, and then you can like jump back into the action. Very, very high pressure. I love that fight. Okay. I don't even remember what's this called, the Silk Queen. What is this? The Weaver Queen? What's her name? We were calling her Silk Mommy or something. I forget what we were calling her. An aggro player, Lace was fun because there's a great, Lace 2 is great. Grandma Silk. Okay. This one's going to be hard for me. I think might get some crap for this, but I think I might have to put it at the bottom of S tier. Here's why people are going to criticize it. People are going to criticize Grandma Silk because she's easy. But Grandma Silk is easy for a reason. Grandma Silk is easy because of the cursed ending. And the cursed ending is where she really really shines. Cursed Ending was the boss fight that took me the second longest in the game after Last Judge. And it was a fight where it was simultaneously really punishing or really unforgiving, but it was also really fair. And I think ultimately when you're judging a good fight, it's overcoming something where you feel like every time you mess up, you generally feel like that was my bad. And I like that. I love the use of claw line. You know, once you realize that the second half of the fight in this fight, where she like controls the ground, is like claw line central. You know, that was really the moment in the game where I realized that, like, oh wait, claw line, yeah, it costs silk to use, but if you hit an enemy, you get silk back, so you can actually use it infinitely, effectively, as long as you're not missing. This felt really good, and it also gave vibes of Radiance. This was the Radiance equivalent in the game, although obviously much easier. I like the fight a lot. Okay. This flea guy. I think we gotta put it here, probably. Big chubby flea. Like, let's be real. Hello, okay. Let's be real. And, you know, maybe if I was up there and I was actually dueling it, I would have a different opinion. But here's what I felt like when the fight. I was like, oh my god, I'm getting a little wrecked. And, sorry, a little wrecked. I just need to enunciate that sentence with a space in between the words before K says anything that will get me demonetized. But then you just go under the bridge that the guy's going on, and he doesn't go under, and then you just, like, attack up, and then you win. It's the easiest fight. Okay? The only reason I'm giving this points over Kragler is it feels like more of a threat. I mean, until you go under the bridge. But also, it's not monotonous. Kragler just takes forever. Okay. Phantom is going to be a really, really, really hard one for me to rank. And the reason why Phantom's going to be hard for me to rank is because I fought Phantom so late in the game, where it was we were just a lot stronger for when the average player is going to run into it. So I didn't have a full experience of the dance. That being said, so I've watched a couple of the bosses that I felt like I needed a refresher on. I've watched videos on, and Phantom has a really, really cool skill set, and honestly is kind of a pinnacle of the duels. With the exception of maybe some of the lace, I think Phantom is probably the best duel. So my question is, so based on my experience, where I was in the game, I'd put it like top of good. But the skill set is really cool, and I feel like, oh god, is Phantom better than Last Judge, though? Last Judge, we have to be real. I put Last Judge as an S tier boss and then just knocked it down because I died to its explosion. I think I like Last Judge more than Phantom. But it has a really, really cool skill set, and it has some moves that are not super traditional duel, how it will, like, you know, create like big blasts that take up regions of the area. So it has some of the like more bossy moves paired with the kind of duel moves. Okay. This fight might be controversial. I don't know. I think part of the problem was how I approached it. I didn't really go very pogo on it just because of the crest I was using. So this is a fight that I thought was kind of conceptually... Oh, God. When I'm looking at my average rankings, I'm like, these are weird choices. Maybe I'll put it... I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like my experience of this boss was like... My experience of it, my enjoyment in the moment was like here. But I have to appreciate that the boss is definitely doing something different. It's not just a nothing boss. It's doing something. There are a couple annoyances, I guess. Like, I don't think you can build up silk on it. I don't think anything generates silk. So this is a boss that my experience of it was ultra meh, but it's a very different vibe. It's a unique thing in the game. So I need to give it credit for that because, you know, I rather than doing the lace fight 100 times and being like, well, it's a great fight, but by the 100th time, you're like, am I going to rank all of them top tier? I think we have to boost it a little bit. Okay, Garmond is a weird one. I feel like Garmond, we have to put at bottom of average, maybe. Garmond and Zaza. Listen, this might just go back to that thing I was saying about... sometimes if you first try bosses, you don't really see the difficulty of it. This was a boss that felt very trivial. So I love Garmond and Zaza as characters. I absolutely love them. They're fun. It was a cute fight. I like how, like, I like their aesthetic a ton. I like how he just felt very, like... A lot of these other duels, they feel like so studied and practiced, where this one felt so haphazard. Like, one of his moves is literally just going like, oh, right? Like, it's just so random. But it was also a fight that felt like one of the least threat fights in the game. Like, we just kind of started the fight, and I'm like, oh, there's a guy there, and then he was dead, and I was like, oh, it's over. Okay. Raging Conchfly. This one's going to be hard for me to rank, also, because it was definitely much more of a challenge than the Conchflies. Listen, I'm from Canada. We say conch, okay? It was more of a challenge, so it was more of an actual fight. But it also was more annoying. So I'm going to probably put it here. Some of its moves were a little irritating, like with the group of the small ones and all that stuff. I don't know. Oh, this guy. Okay. After fighting Garmond, you almost regretted enlisting his aid. Wait, what is... Oh, God, that fight. Okay, I forget what this fight is called. It had 2 names, right? What were these guys called? So there was a trio of challenges I did in the game after Savage Beastfly 2, where I was like, I need to stop being stubborn. If I hit a wall, I need to come back later. And just do it when I'm a little bit stronger. This was one of them. I enjoyed it. I thought it was neat how it was a simple boss. And then Cygnus and Gron, thank you. It was a simple boss, but there was just the fact of having to deal with like 2 completely independent skill sets. It was a fun one. Independently, they're both kind of meh. But it was like, this is like what the Moss Mother 2 dreams it could be. So I feel like I'm going to put it... Oh, God. Maybe at top of good? Hello! Okay, Trobio really doesn't want to... Trobio's being as dramatic as ever. You know what? Let's put Trobio up. Okay. Legoli? Chef Legoli? We're putting Chef Legoli down here. I did not like Chef Legoli. I actually didn't even realize he muck-maggoted you until, like, the last attack. I think I got hit with the muck-maggot, like, at the very end. It just felt... Oh, God. This is another fight that I beat first try, so I can't remember the details a ton. But I just remember he was, like, throwing his butt at you constantly and then scooping out crud. And it just felt kind of... I don't know. I kind of stumbled... Oh, and it was for that... It was for that food quest that everyone, I'm sure, hates. It was ultimately forgettable, but it wasn't bad. It was just kind of forgettable for me. We just kind of went through it. Okay, what is... Oh, this one... What is this one called? Is this like Gruzmother or something? What is this one called? I forget the name of this. God, I don't even know where I should put it. Broodmother. Okay. This one kind of felt similar to Legoli as me, actually, to be totally honest, in its movement a little bit. Actually, it was a little bit more like... It was like a cross between that one boss from the first Hollow Knight. Actually, it's kind of like a cross between 2 bosses from Hollow Knight. It was like a cross between that one bug that just went like... Doosh, 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 and then the one that, like, spawned out the gross little larva. I don't know. For me, these 2 are kind of interchangeable. I didn't... I actually almost died on this one, to be totally honest. But it was not my favorite fight. I'm trying to think of which one's more inspired. Like, the thing I have to give about this one's more inspired. God, I'm kind of wondering if I should lower this. Oh, this is... I feel like maybe I should lower Skull Tyrant. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, these ones are definitely more... Oh, God. I gotta boost some stuff. As much as I didn't... I enjoyed this boss more, but this was a much more inspired boss. Okay, we're just leaving it at that for now. Okay, wait, what is this? What is this? I don't recognize this boss. Oh, is that the forum? Oh. Okay. This is going to be another example like I mentioned with Savage Beastfly. This is going to be a moment where I first tried it, and thank God I did. Because the fact that I first tried the forum meant that I was kind of like, my feeling of first trying the forum was, oh, thank God that thing that went on forever is over. Now, if I died on it multiple times, I would be like, I would hate this, right? So I'm not putting it F tier because of my experience, but I recognize that I could understand this being an F tier. I'm going to put it at bottom of D. I also, to be real, as pretty as the high halls were a beautiful zone. They were probably my least favorite zone in the game just because I thought the enemies were annoying. It's hard. Putrefied Ducts or High Hall, they're going to be kind of low on that list for me. Okay. The ranking is based off of my personal feelings during the experience of my playthrough. Like, the enjoyment I had and just my feeling of the boss with the builds I had at the time. Okay. This is just the most subjective ranking. It's not like difficulty or something. Okay. Second Sentinel. This one is a little tough. Because this is another dual fight. It's definitely below Phantom. The only problem with High Halls was that it's one way. I thought the Ascent, where you're fighting those enemies and you have to like claw line on the hooks, was kind of annoying. Also because the enemies, it feels like that's a zone where they should be teaching you to use the claw line offensively, but those enemies kind of had attacks that countered your claw line, so it made it especially annoying. They were enemies that it felt like you were better off fighting from below. Yeah, but Mount Fate was its own thing too. It was a platforming challenge. It was a unique thing in the game. Okay, Second Sentinel. Second Sentinel gets narrative points. I like it narratively. It is kind of doing the duel thing again. And one of the struggles is that the duels all kind of have an overlap in playstyle. And so the duels are some of the strongest fight, but it also loses some uniqueness points for that. But it had a cool, it was a solid fight. So I think I can't put it amazing, can I? I think I have to put it at top of good. I like Second Sentinel. Okay, Bell Eater. This one's interesting because I thought it had some annoying moves, but it also kind of had some of the things that Sister Splinter had, where it would kind of pen you in a little bit, not as claustrophobic. It had an interesting skill set. God, where should I put this? I think it has to be good, right? I think it has to be good. Okay. This is going to be the hardest boss for me to rate. And the reason is because I don't feel like I gave this boss a fair shot, the Pinstress. The Pinstress is a boss that it's another duel, but she looked like she had an interesting skill set that was a lot more aggressive than a lot of them. But I won at first try, but I struggled. And the way I won was I Plasmium overdosed and kind of chilled off map, and my Cogflies killed her. So it's a hard one to rank because I feel like I didn't engage with the mechanics as intended. I feel like I circumnavigated the I feel like I circumnavigated them. So it's really hard for me to rank because based on my experience, based on how I went, like this is the single fight. I mean, other than this guy, this is the single fight that I'm the least proud of my victory, basically. Like, I feel like I didn't overcome anything. I just kind of exploited the mechanics I had at my disposal. So my experience would put her like here. Well, but I feel like we have to be real, and her skill set is a good skill set. I feel like she's probably up here or here. Okay. This is probably the last opinion I have that is going to be very controversial, I'm guessing. Oh, God. Where would I put Chakra? I found Chakra a really annoying fight. But it was it was probably the most chaotic of the duels. Probably, right? My issue with it was that the pain window was very, very short. Like how she would teleport, she had such a limited pain window that you really felt like the only means of attack, other than like preempting with traps, it felt like it was very claw line centric. And sometimes I love when the claw line feels like an option that really shines, but I hate it when it feels like I'm being forced into something like this is the only path through. I'm sure there's other paths through, but for me, I also felt that she had she attacked really quickly with very little telegraph. So I think she might have been a second try. She might have been longer than that. I definitely died to her at least once. Where should I put her? I did not love the fight, but it is clearly a very inspired fight. So I feel like it would be bad for me. Like, I feel like there's going to be too much. Oh God. Like, I enjoyed Second Sentinel more than both of these. You know what? I enjoyed this fight more than them too. But I just feel like in my heart I can't rank them higher. Okay. What is this one called? Court of Cross or something? I don't know. Court of Cross is probably like, oh, where should I put it? Should I put it here? The Crawfather. Okay. Where should I put it? I enjoyed it a lot more than Unraveled. But the fight felt very chaotic. Like, it was a weird fight. It might have just been when I fought it in the game. It's a fight where I always felt like, oh my God, I'm getting overwhelmed. And then I looked at my health and I was at full health. And I was like, oh, am I getting overwhelmed? So it was a weird one because how I felt when I was fighting it didn't actually line up with my experience fighting it. like emotionally it felt chaotic, but his moves skill set was super simple. It was actually kind of like, I don't know. To me, with the tools I had at my disposal, it felt like an easier Savage Beastfly. So I don't know where I should put it. It was cool aesthetically. It's. I think we have to put it in the average tier. Okay. Oh God, Is this Plasmified Zango or something like that? Plasmified. Oh God, this boss. My death to it was shameful. I don't think we can put it in Abyss. But yeah, you realize that the one tool, I don't know. Getting that final, oh God, I don't like it. I don't like this fight. And this was my first Act 3 boss. Realizing that you can use that file to, like, you know, just end phases, and it's like permanent ending of phases. And then getting that last hit on it just felt like luck. It felt like, okay, I'm just going to wait for, you know, because you have to charge up that file. I couldn't out damage him with my normal attacks. So I was kind of relying on that file. I don't know. I didn't like the fight, but I can't put it in the same tier as these guys. Like, it was, at least it was unique. These guys was just, ugh. Okay, Clover Dancers. Clover Dancers are also hard to rank. If Cogwork Dancers didn't exist, Clover Dancers would go a lot higher. Okay? And Clover Dancers, obviously, they have a certain amount of narrative, like, poignance. But I feel like they didn't hit as hard as Cogwork Dancers did. And I feel like they didn't really improve on the fight. Like, kind of, what did it do? You have to hit one guy, and they do a swirly tornado. And once you figure out like, I think I died once. And I think that's because I didn't know the tornado thing. And then the second time, I was like, oh, I get it. And then it was easy. Oh, God. I feel weird. It's weird because I feel like Clover Dancers are clearly S tier. But I feel like I don't want to put this in Amazing. But it feels weird to put it, like, 2 tiers below something when it's kind of the same fight. But I think maybe that's why it's 2 tiers lower, because it's kind of the same fight. So let's just put this here. Okay. I forget, what is this called? The, like, Pure Stag or something? I feel like Pure Stag I might have to put just above this one. It kind of fits the same vibe as this, where it's, like, aesthetically really cool. But it's like way too trivially. Oh god, I'm actually kind of hating my order of this stuff because some of these feel like actual challenges and some of them do not. But oh god, is this meh? It feels aesthetically really cool, but it felt very trivial, and it was very one note. It was kind of like this guy, except I could see you dying on it, and yeah, there wasn't much to it. Ah, god, but it was a little bit different. I feel like aesthetically, this one's better. Father of the Flame, but this one was more enjoyable. Okay. This one's going to be super hard for me to rank. And I'll tell you why. Oh, Pure Stag. Pure Stag. Here's why I have a hard time ranking Crust King Khan. I love this boss. I love the boss a lot. Pale Stag. Okay. Like, as a boss, I think it's A tier. It's very easy, but it has very cool attacks. It was just a very fun fight. Now, the Coral Tower, I hate. I love the Coral Tower aesthetically. I hate the Gauntlet. I think my experience with the Gauntlet was probably closer to what a lot of people experienced with the Forum. This was probably the moment in the game, the second most in the game, other than the Savage Beastfly, that I had a little bit of like a, oh my god, I don't want to play this game. Now, you guys actually probably, none of you have seen this. I mean, you guys might have on YouTube. But when I did the Coral Tower, I did the Coral Tower at the end of a like 7.5 hour live stream. And I was just like, listen, guys, I'm just not in the mood for this right now after failing a couple times. And so I just stopped, made dinner. A couple hours later, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I didn't stream it. I just recorded it. It's going to be uploaded to YouTube. And then first try, I got to the boss and then died on the boss just because I didn't know his skill set yet. And I didn't realize that the shortcut was going to persist. So I thought I was going to have to do all 4 arenas and then do the boss again. And I did a really cowardly strat to get through the arenas, but I ran myself out of tools. I thought I was going to have to do everything over again. And I had a moment where I was like, I feel like I'm done with this. And I feel like it's going to be really hard for me to pick it up again and go through it. And then I realized there was a shortcut. And then I first tried the boss once there's a shortcut because all of a sudden I had duels and it was trivial. So this one's hard to rank because I love the boss. I hate the Coral Tower. So if we're not counting the Coral Tower, I'd probably put it like here. But if we count the Coral Tower, I probably have to bump it down to like here. Okay. Scarsinger Carmelita. This fight, this was another one of my 2 big pivot points in the game. My 2 big pivot points were this one telling me to not bash my head into a wall and to do other things if I'm hitting these walls and not just fall into pits of stubbornness. The other one was Scarsinger Carmelita, where I changed how I was doing my architect build. Because beforehand, so at this point in the game, I was going Plasmium Overdose and like using that fundamentally as a tool to heal, but I was not using my tools that much because I wanted to make sure I could I was using my binding to like use heals with the multi-binder and the like quick binder, so I was getting like 2 units of heal, and I was really doing nail fighting before that fight. This fight was the fight that I was like, oh wait, never just do a normal bind, only do craft bind with architect build, spam those traps. And this was a fight that once I changed the strategy, it went down pretty fast, but beforehand I was like, oh, she's really tough. She's a weird one because I like 99% of her. Okay. I shouldn't say 99% of her skill set. She has like 4 moves probably. I like 75% of her skill set. The dual aspect is really good, but she has one move that I always got bonked by and I always struggled to dodge, which was she would do one where she would like turn into a wheel and dive up into the center. And I always got hit by that. I never adjusted to that. So I have some resentment to that, but I feel like I got to put it up in amazing. I like that fight a lot. And it was also a big point in the run for the pivot. Okay. We have Seth. Seth was an interesting one. I think the first time I fought Seth, I got overwhelmed because he was super, super, super aggressive. And, you know, I was trying to, like, heal up or use my plasmium or things like that. And every time I would run away, I would just get destroyed. And then the second time, we kind of destroyed him, I seem to recall. And what I kind of realized is that he seemed like he had a general safe spot, which was like, if he's here, you're up in a diagonal, like you're 45 degrees away from him up in the air. It was a spot that it was just easy to dodge away from. So once I just started hugging that area of the screen, he went down pretty easy. I also, at that point, had already fought Carmelita, so I was tool spamming. So it went down quite fast. So I feel like, oh God. I feel like maybe I'll put it here for now. I like Seth a lot, but I don't think we got the traditional picture of the Seth fight. Okay. Nihilith. I think Nihilith is also going to be an unpopular opinion of mine. Okay? Nihilith, I loved Nihilith. I think the reason it's going to be an unpopular opinion is I think fundamentally it's way too easy of a boss for where you're fighting in the game. That being said, it makes sense because Seth is really the true boss, right? Like, you fight Seth and Nihilith back to back. So it's kind of like, this is the boss and this is the reward in a way. I thought it was a lot of fun because it's funny. Some of you guys might be like, think I'm contradicting myself for what I'm saying about Chakra. But I feel like this fight, the claw line shined so much. I liked that because she would like dodge from one side of the arena to the other, like with sting shards, I could just be like, oh, I'm on this side of the arena. I'm going to just lay some sting shards here. And then I will claw line to you, claw line back. You'll come over. You'll get hit by all those traps. It just felt like a fight where I was really, really in control. And sometimes, listen, I don't play Hollow Knight because it's a hard game. I don't play it because, oh, I'm really overcoming these personal challenges. I play Hollow Knight because I like exploring and it's neat and it has cool lore and it's pretty. I don't play it for like the hardcore gameplay like a lot of people. So I'm cool with some easy fights, and just from sheer enjoyment, I feel like a monster. I can't place it above these guys. Oh, God. But from sheer enjoyment, it was like S tier enjoyment. There just something about that moment of that fight of just being airborne and just eviscerating this boss felt so good. It felt like just the culmination of the abilities my character has accrued. Okay. Okay. I don't even remember what this guy was called. Freaking Trap Master dude. I didn't like this fight. I found it a little bit. I kind of view it a little bit. We will listen. Judge me away and argue in the comments. It reminded me a little bit of like. I know it's fundamentally different than Legoli, but it gave me a similar vibe. I think I gotta put it in meh. I don't really have a lot to say about it. Like, fundamentally, he was the pinnacle of the control the arena space. The boss itself doesn't have much going on, but he's kind of controlling the arena. Another claustrophobic fight like Sister Splinter. I just didn't find it as compelling. I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it. Okay, this one I saw. It's called like Watcher of the End or something. I never found this boss. This is the one boss in my playthrough, not counting this dude, that I never encountered. So I shouldn't rank it. I watched a video of it. Now, my gut from the video, from what I saw, is that it's a duel. The duel, though, the type of attacks are a little bit different. They look kind of like, they're kind of like those enemies that you fight in the Coral Tower. Actually, wait, it must be, because I think you fight these guys in the Sands of Karak, right? The skill set that, from what I saw, it looked like it kind of had one move. So I feel like my gut would be to put it in meh or maybe average. But I don't feel good rating it because I didn't fight it. Okay. I don't remember what this version of Garmond was called. But let's rank it. This was an interesting fight. Lost Garmond. I'm going to put it up. Excuse me. I know that you're a good fight. I know everyone likes you. There we go. Here's the thing about Lost Garmond is it's it's one of the pinnacles of narrative fights, right? You have a few fights that get big boosts because of their narrative weight. And Lost Garmond, that was one where you see it and you're like, no, like it's the most like, why, right? So there is that. I think it took me 2 attempts to do Lost Garmond. First attempt, I got eviscerated because I charged in, and Lost Garmond mowed me down. Second time, I'd basically just run and gun, right? Like, I would... by the way, some of these bosses, I might be providing a wrong number of deaths. That's what I remember it being, but it might have been more. I can't remember. Anyways, I basically would, like, go in, have a cog fly up there. I would do a claw light at it. I would run away. He would throw one little, you know, his thing, but if you're far away, you can just do a little hop. And it was kind of just a simple fight once I just realized I could go in. So in terms of an actual enjoyment of the fight itself, I'd probably bump it down like here. But I think it needs to get narrative boosts. Okay. The Volt Worm. This is another tough one. It seemed pretty easy. But it was also kind of different. I like how the picture looks like just a bunch of boobs. All right. I feel like it has to be... So, in a way, it kind of reminds me of these two, where it's kind of like a little bit of a different thing. Like, it feels a bit more like a trap fight. But I found it a lot more enjoyable. Where do I want to put it? I might put it there. It was simple, but it felt good to just, like, kind of push through. Okay. I forget what this guy's called. I've looked up a video on this. I know this is the Steel Soul exclusive one. So... from what I've seen of this fight, here's what I assume. From what I've seen of this fight, I would probably put it average. It seems like it's very, very Abyss attack. It seems like its charge has very, very, like, it has, like, no telegraph. So, the problem with what I've seen of this fight is it looks like if you're trying to, like, hit it a bunch of times, it will just charge you and there's no chance of dodging. So it feels like a boss where, to me, this feels like a boss that I would whip out. I would probably fight it a lot like I fought Lost Garmond, right? I would pull out a cog fly if I don't know where you fight it in the game, actually. It must be Act 3, right? I don't know. But I feel like you would claw line it, run away, and then you're probably safe from it. But I'm not going to rate it because I didn't fight it. Okay. And finally, we have this fight. We have Lace 3, Lost Lace. Where do I want to put Lost Lace? Huh. We know it's S tier. But the question is where? Cinematically, it's... okay, let's be real. It's one of the 2 most cinematic fights in the game. Right? I would say Clover Dancer and Lost Lace, like they're the 2 most that the actual, as the fight progresses, are the most, like, I don't know, like just the storytelling of the fight itself is huge in these 2 fights. So it gets boosted. It's definitely way more of a challenge. I mean, I think I took more attempts on this boss than this boss, and I definitely took more attempts. Well, I definitely took less attempts on this than both. I probably enjoyed it less than these 2. It was also stressful because it was one of the first fights that really countered my build. In that you start the fight not being able to, like, if you enter the Abyss, it takes away your Plasmium Overdose. And you also don't get a pre-fight room to, like, inject up and to gather your silk and stuff. So it's a thing where the fight starts and you're instantly trying to set up your build while the fight is already active. Now, the thing that is convenient about the fight is similar to Lace 2. It has that area where if you jump up the wall and then you kind of double jump over or whatever and are, like, up in the air, you can kind of do your bind safely. So that became the area where I was like hugging up like way high, and her attacks didn't really hit. Now that stops partway through. I think is it phase 3? One of the phases, she gets a new ability where she spawns like these little orbs and they shoot like home. I don't know if they're homing, but projectiles that target you. And that kind of gets rid of the safe spot. And the reality is, I think by the time we did our last run of that match, we weren't getting hit by her much. We were getting hit by those kind of like targeting things. So it really became, by the end of that fight, it really became one attack that we were really struggling with. And I don't seem to recall the rest of her skill set was as bad, because we were going very trap heavy and we were avoiding it. Now, I think I'm going to place her here. That is what I feel. So that is my experience with the game. Feel free to argue below, but that is how I would rank my experience with these bosses. If I went pure joy of the boss fights, it would probably look a bit different. If it was pure joy, let's go pure how much fun I had. Bam. 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 This is only fun and nothing else matters. Okay? Oh god. Maybe this goes down here. Well, I wasn't miserable. If we're counting the trial, if we're counting the trial leading up to it, this goes down here. But if we're doing the boss itself, it's like up here. That's why it's really hard to rank. So I guess I'll just put it. I guess I will put it average. I'll put this down. I shouldn't put them in Abyss. Okay. I'm doing this very haphazardly. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. I didn't enjoy this. I would put Nihilith up. Where's Nihilith? I loved Nihilith. I had a lot of fun. Carmelita, I would lower. Oh, God. I would lower these guys to meh. Boom. Probably put this up to, I don't know. Whatever. Let's not do this. Who cares? Who cares? But my list would look very different if it was just pure in the moment how much fun I was having. But I'm trying to rank it on other things. All right. Well, that was my tier list. This is, oh God, please tell me someone doesn't screenshot this. Oh God, at the end and think that is my tier list. Here, let's just say that there's no. Let's just do the rage bait one. Okay. That way, if anyone wants to screenshot what we have at the end, we'll put this here. There we go. Perfect. There's the rage bait tier list. All right. If you guys enjoyed, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'll be back next time with some more. Take care, guys. Mwah!